I note the time of the meeting open tonight at 7 p.m. First of all, I would like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we meet. On behalf of the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land in which we meet today. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. I will now read the disclaimer for those present. Please note this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on the Council's website in accordance with the City's public participation in Council meeting policy, which can be viewed on Council's website. All reasonable care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given if your image is broadcast. The recommendations contained in this agenda are officers' recommendations only and should not be acted upon until Council has resolved to adopt those recommendations. The resolution of Council should be confirmed by perusing the minutes of the Council meeting at which these recommendations were considered. Members of the public should also note that they act at their own risk if they enact any resolution prior to receiving official written notice of Council's decision. Item 3 is a record of attendance, and in attendance tonight, welcome councillors and also welcome all executive directors and staff. Visitors, we have 1 and press 0. Apologies of elected members, there are 0, and apologies of staff is from Mia Hicks, the Director of Advocacy and Strategy. Item 3.3 is leave of absence. We have a leave of absence previously approved for the Mayor Glenn Wilson. And moving on to item 4, public access and public question time. Public access, there is 0. Public question time, there is none. Petitions, deputations and presentations, there is none. And notations of interest. Interests affecting impartiality, there is 0. Financial interest, there is 1. Myself, the Deputy Mayor, has declared a financial interest in item 9.4.1, 25-26 Regional Extended Trading Package, as I am a retailer. Item 6.3, a proximity interest of local government, there is 0, and applications for leave of absence, there is 0. Item 8, urgent business approved by the person presiding or by decision, there is 0. And now we'll move on to reports from officers and straight into item 9.3.1, the Statement of Financial Activity for July 2025. Tonight, elected members, as we haven't had the opportunity of an agenda briefing prior to tonight's special council meeting, I'll ask elected members, are there any questions of officers prior to each item before we begin debate? So, councillors, do we have any questions for the Director of Finance, People and Culture for item 9.3.1? We do. So, Director, would you like to come up? Okay, we'll start with Councillor Turner and then Councillor O'Donnell for questions of the Director.
Okay, so my question to the Director, just through the Mayor, or Deputy Mayor, is we have a substantial variation there on our wages. So I understand that when we did our budget deliberations, where there was there was quite a bit of talk about the wages budget, which obviously the Director is new, he wasn't part of that, and we had that our budget is obviously set for an amount that we don't ever have full. Unfortunately, we don't have 100% staffing. It's quite a substantial variation, which is actually I'm not against that, because it means we've actually been able to employ more staff. Does the Director foresee that there's likely to be any more? I know it's hard, but at such a substantial variation, we wouldn't want to see that occurring each quarter. So do you have any concerns with that?
To the Deputy Mayor, the variance in the employee cost for July 2025 is largely due to the timing of payroll rather than the underlying shortfall in staffing up the budgets. When the budgets are phased, it was uploaded evenly across 12 months. However, in the July 2025, 3 payrolls were processed instead of the usual 2, resulting in an additional fortnight's cost being recorded in that month. This timing difference makes an employee cost appear 465,000 over budget, but in reality, the staffing levels are much closer to budget than the July figures as suggested. Across the year, this variance will balance out as the payroll cycles align with the budget phasing. However, there's a permanent difference that I will take that on notice, that particular question.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Any further questions? No? Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you. I just want to double check. What caused the budget overflow of 191,000 in 1 month under the employee cost, page 13?
I believe
That's the one
the
I'm taking.
director
It's a
has-
permanent difference that I will take that question on notice.
Thank you. And one more from Councillor O'Donnell.
Supplementary, as well as the public safety, more than budgeted of 77,000. Just under that, it had 3 vacant positions not budgeted for, 71,000. Is 71,000 for the month for 3 staff?
To the director.
That's part of the question that I will take on notice, all the permanent differences in the employee cost.
Thank you. And another,
Yep, supplementary. Under retic and landscaping, we've got $127,000 for housing. How many houses was that $127,000 spent on?
The 3 residential staff homes exceeded the budget by 127K due to the higher landscaping expenses. However, the associated work and budget were not carried out into the 2025-26 year.
No, I don't understand that.
sorry, I'll hand over to the CEO.
So through the Deputy Mayor, the number of houses, predominantly the 3 new council houses that were built, so was the initial landscaping. There was a report came back which talked about some of the other landscaping costs that were associated with those 3 new council houses, Osmedi and Fairretha, the 3 properties, but we'll bring back further detail on those costs. Some of it was in 24-25, some of it's wasn't carried over into 25-26, which is where the variance comes in.
So just point of clarification. So we'll get, that'll come back later to us, letting us know exactly. Thank you.
Councillor Johnson has a question also.
Yes, thank you. Under the employee costs, it's noted as being a permanent. And being a permanent means it'll roll on and roll on and roll on. That's the way I'm looking at it. So the figure there of 455,565, and that's per quarter, per month? Per month. So if that's permanent, I imagine that would be the figure rolling around. You add all those up, you're looking at about 600,000 straight up for 12 months. Is that correct?
My apologies. That composition is actually both temporary and permanent. The temporary was the one I provide an explanation to the question, and the permanent portion of that one, that question I'll take on notice.
Supplementary to that, if we're going to approve this tonight, we're approving it as permanent, it's not temporary in any way, how's that going to look? Because permanent to me is fixed and it will roll on, and that will be a cost in there of 600,000. I just need some clarity, because that, as a figure, scares the hell out of me, because we need to take control of our budget Having it permanent means does it ever come back to us again around this table?
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I'll hand over to the CEO to give some more clarity around that one because there's two components to the questions that councillors are asking. Thank you, Mr CEO.
Yeah, thank you, through the Deputy Mayor. The two components to it, obviously the permanent and the temporary variances, as the directors indicated, the cost for part of the variance is due to the 3 pay periods in 1 month, which obviously inflates it compared to over the year. It is reported every month back to Council, so you'll see how it's tracking over the year as that comes back. Council's not approving anything tonight other than noting the statement of financial activity. That's all we're doing. It's not actually making any determination on any changes to budget, so that will continue to be reported every month. You'll be able to track it from there to see any other variance. Mid-year budget review, it would be an indication of where it's at, if it's still tracking outside of what we'd consider normal parameters, and then Council can make a decision at that point in time as well. So further information will come back.
Thank you. Were there any further questions? Councillor Turner.
I just had, through the Deputy Mayor, a further question on the landscaping. I could be wrong here. From previous discussions, I think it wasn't just reticulation and grass getting put down. I seem to remember something about some sheds getting put up as well, and perhaps some paving works as well. So is that correct?
Through to the CEO to answer that one. I think he has further details.
Yeah, thank you. That is correct. So it's not just simply the gardening and reticulation. There is some paving. There was some garden sheds and everything else put up. This was finalisation of the 3 new builds.
Thank you, councillors. Is that all the questions? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just through the Deputy Mayor through to the Director, you did mention that there was some variation in the way that the budget was entered, how it was just divided out equally per month. Are we expecting to see an adjustment done to those figures to better reflect the monthly cycles?
When preparing the July 1, I already noticed that one, and we are planning to align our phasing based on the pay periods for the employee cost. And for the materials and services cost, we will align it based on the director's recommendation.
Thank you, Director. If there's no further questions, we'll continue with the motion. Thank you, Director. Councillors, I'll draw your attention to the caretaker period statement that I'll need a mover and a seconder for. I'll read that to begin with and call for moving of the procedural motion, and then we'll move into the officer's recommendation for the statement of financial activity. So in accordance with the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder's electoral caretaker period policy, the CEO seeks a council resolution to enact council's consideration of the matter due to the following exceptional circumstances. A, the urgency of the issue. B, the possibility of legal or financial repercussions if it is deferred. C, the best interests of the city. The CEO does not consider this is a major policy decision, but considers there are exceptional circumstances for council to consider this report during caretaker period. Regulation 34(4) of the Local Government Financial Management Regulations 1996 requires council to receive the monthly statement of financial activity within 2 months of the relevant month. This report ensures compliance with this requirement. Could I please ask for a mover of the caretaker policy statement? Councillor O'Donnell, and thank you, Councillor Viskovich, as a seconder. Councillor Winner has a question.
Just a quick one, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just through the Deputy Mayor to the CEO, given that this report is only for noting for councillors, would it still be deemed an exceptional circumstance?
Through the Deputy Mayor, the failure to adopt it within 2 months of it being prepared is a technical breach, hence the time frame around it. We're considering it being, it isn't forcing council to enact anything other than noting a report in this case. So for the sake of compliance with legislation, we've put this one forward.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a mover and seconder. Is there any speakers against? Speakers for? If there's no further debate on the motion, I'll put the motion. Could those in favour raise their hand? 7-0. Okay, now I will call for the mover and a seconder for the officer's recommendation that council receive the statement of financial activity for the period ending the 30th of June 2025. Could I call for a mover, please? Councillor O'Donnell, and thank you, seconder, Councillor Viskovich. Are there any speakers against the motion? Speakers for? And if there's no further debate, please raise your hand in favour of the motion. Thank you. 7-0. Item 9.3.2 is the accounts payable report for August 2025. Are there any councillors wishing to ask questions regarding the item tonight of the director? Councillor O'Donnell to begin, and I'll ask the director back up to speak and answer these questions. Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell, if you would like to start with your question to the director.
Rookie mistake, apologies. Originally, the agenda came out with Monday to Friday weekdays was 8 to...
This is regarding item 9.3.2, accounts payable report for August 2025. Okay, councillors, while we have the director still up here, are there any further questions of the director? Thank you, director, for getting your steps up this evening. I'll read again before we go through the caretaker policy statement. I will be needing to read this prior to each and requesting a mover and seconder, so bear with me. In accordance with the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder's electoral caretaker period policy, the CEO seeks a council resolution to enable council's consideration of the matter due to the following exceptional circumstances: A, the urgency of the issue; B, the possibility of legal or financial repercussions if it is deferred; C, the best interests of the city. The CEO does not consider this a major policy decision, but considers there are exceptional circumstances for council to consider this report during caretaker period. Regulation 13A(2) of the Local Government Act, Financial Management Regulation 1996, requires presentation of the list of credit, debit and other purchasing card payments to council at the next ordinary meeting of council after the list is prepared. Could I please have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Winner, seconder, Councillor Boddicker. Thank you. All those in favour, please raise your hands. 7-0. Now we'll move on to the officer's recommendation that council receive the list of payments presented in the month of August 2025. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Boddicker, and seconded by Councillor Turner. Are there any speakers against? Speaker for? And if there's no further debate on item 9.3.2, could we all raise our hands to vote for the motion? Seven-0. Thank you. We'll move on to item 9.4.1, and as I, the Deputy Mayor, have a financial interest in this item, I will need to leave the room and call for a nomination from the floor for a fellow councillor to chair this item. Is there anyone would like to nominate? Councillor Boddicker has nominated Councillor Winner. Any other nominations? Councillor Winner, you are the lucky duck.
can we please note the time that the Deputy Mayor has left the room at 7:15. Item 9. Thank you. The time's wrong on that. Item 9.4.1 is the 2025-2026 Regional Extended Trading Package. The electoral caretaker period policy statement, as the Deputy Mayor has highlighted, will need to be read again for this item, and that is, in accordance with the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder's electoral caretaker period policy, the CEO seeks a council resolution to enable council's consideration of the matter due to the following exceptional circumstances. A, the urgency of the issue. B, the possibility of legal and or financial repercussions if it is deferred. And C, the best interest of the city. The CEO does not consider this to be a major policy decision, but considers there are exceptional circumstances for council to consider this report during the caretaker period due to the deadline provided by the department to accept the 2025-26 Regional Extended Trading Package, 30th September 2025, and meeting the deadline is in the city's best interest. A written extension from the Department of Local Government, Industry Regulation and Safety was provided to the city to the 1st of October 2025 due to the timing of the special council meeting. There is an officer's recommendation. I call for a mover. This is for the caretaker. So moved by Councillor Viskovich, seconded by Councillor Turner. Councillor Viskovich, would you like to speak on the motion? Question, Councillor Turner. Microphone.
Can we ask questions about it like we did with the last item prior to doing anything?
Yes. Is there any questions for this item before we continue? Councillor Turner.
So I have some questions. Okay.
Let's, on the advice of the CEO, we'll resolve the procedural motion and then we can enter the questions from there. Councillor Turner, sorry, as a seconder, did you want to speak on this item? Nil, any members of council like to speak for? Speak against? With no one registering to speak against, can we vote? I'll call for the vote. All those in favour? Passed 7-0. 6-0. Questions for the director? Councillor Turner.
So I've got a question through that acting, whatever you are acting as, through you to probably to the CEO. So my question first is, before we get to this item, we had a submission for some changes to retail hours that I don't believe council has ever been advised of what the outcome of that was to the minister. So we've got our current existing ministerial approval variation, which has been there for some time. What happened with our application or what we'd put to the minister to change some of our retail hours, which if that had happened, I don't even think this item would be necessary.
Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. The following council resolution with the amended trading hours that was put to the department for consideration, that was rejected by the department. We had to go back and do further consultation for that to occur. It still hasn't been supported at this point in time. So the current exemption, which was granted back, the current variation, which was approved back in 2021 for memory, is still the current hours, which is the 7 till 7, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and 7 till 9, Thursdays.
Councillor Turner, follow-up question?
Yep, so I've got a follow-up question. Given that the minister knocked that back or refused it, did we have any reasoning given back to us, or were there any submissions against what the council had put in that were taken into consideration by the minister?
Mr. CEO.
Through the chair. My understanding was that we needed to get further support from the local member and the Chamber of Commerce. The survey data, from memory, that they had at that point in time wasn't sufficient to actually cover that. So we've had to go back and do that over and over again. At this point in time, we haven't got that final approval.
Councillor Turner?
Yeah, and so my last question is, this for this to occur, for us to put some changes into the Christmas hours, I believe that we needed to have the chamber support, and reading through the report, the chamber has offered that, given that they have said that none of their retailers had come back and opposed it, which I found a little bit perplexing if they had put an alternative application in for our previous hours. So is that correct that the chamber is supporting any changes that we to make to hours?
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Mr. CEO.
Yeah, through the chair, that's my understanding.
Any further questions? Councillor Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Just to follow up with Councillor Turner's questions, when this went out, there was major faults within what went out. What went out to the chamber were an 8 a.m. start to a 9, and it was resolved in the current one that sits in place as a 7 a.m. through to a 7 p.m. So the chamber actually put out information from the city which was incorrect. Hence, there could be a reason why the retailers haven't come back. I think that's the first point. And if I may, the second point...
Sorry, Councillor Johnson, the question for the first point was...
Well, because of the information going out, can we really adequately address this tonight?
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Mr. CEO?
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. The issue is if we don't address it tonight, we'll get what we get. Basically, we can either accept or not accept the variation in trading hours from the Minister. This is our chance to have an opportunity to have a say in relation to that. I understand the point in relation to the trading hours, but we got no information back from the chamber, either supporting or opposing or changing or making alternate recommendations to it. So based on the information, if it had been incorrect, we weren't advised of that at that time. It was only when it was pointed out this morning that in the report it had the wrong hours. I'm unsure if that was the same information provided to the chamber. However, they do have a current copy of the approved variation in trading hours. So most retailers would be aware of the current variation. So nothing has come back in relation to alternates or proposed changes.
Councillor Johnson, your second question.
Supplementary. In the body of this report, there is a passage which I've just got to find, and it's to do with advising the Minister basically 3 weeks' notice, given 3 weeks' notice prior to the starting date of the hours. That would lead us quite well into the end of this month, where a new council would be elected and their input would then be used, and we could easily do that. So I'm not quite sure where this other time frame has come from. In the body of what I'm reading is that it is 3 weeks prior to, the word is, prior to the date of the starting, and this item falls well within that time. So my question is, why aren't we, or can we, leave this on the table for the new council, and in the first meeting in October or second meeting in October, this can come back. It also then gives the chamber the opportunity to, if you like, investigate through their retailers the correct figures and facts about what's going on, and I think there'd be a lot of happy people around if we did that. It's just, I believe, this good governance that we put something out there which was incorrect.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
So my question is...
Mr. CEO?
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. The 3-week time frame is prior to the commencement of the changes. So we must advertise those changes. If we want them to take effect from 1st of December, would have to be advertised 3 weeks prior to that, as an example. So it'd have to be advertised early November to get that out. That's not the time frame for consultation, that's the actual time frame for the new hours to come into effect. So it has to be 3 weeks. So we still need to advise the Minister that we're looking at alternate changes or alternate proposal, which is why we've got it through tonight. And then, subject to consideration then by the Minister or by the Department, we'd look at how we actually implement that.
Councillor Johnson?
If this item doesn't get up tonight, would the status quo exist?
Mr. CEO?
Yes, through the chair, yes, that's my understanding.
Thank you. Councillor Donnell?
Thank you. First off, in carrying over from Councillor Johnson, yes, it's on page 22. I think the report's not written clearly in that my question was going to be, if you've got 3 weeks, it says here to have 3 weeks prior to the planned extensions. So by that means, and that's where I'd question, okay, we've got plenty of time to do it, but I do realise there's other things. But the way it's worded, we don't need to do it tonight. That's the way it is.
Sorry, Councillor Donald, the question in that is...
Can that be looked at for just going ahead in future? Just things like that? Because the information we've got is we don't need to deal with it tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Donald. Mr CEO.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm not sure what else I can add to it. My understanding is the minister has made that call to, we have to advise the minister by the 30th, was the deadline, as whether we're going to accept those hours or propose something different. If we're going to propose something different, we'd need to go back and do that. We've got an extension until tomorrow to do that, but the deadline imposed by the department or the minister's office was the 30th of September, which is why we're doing it tonight.
Supplementary, Councillor Donald.
Which I agree. I'm not querying that. I'm just saying I can see where Councillor Johnson's saying we don't need... If that was written in there, we need to have this in by the 1st of October.
Councillor Donald, and that's shaped as a question.
Right. And right, next one. Next question.
Yes, please.
When was the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder notified and asked for a response?
Mr CEO.
Through the chair, I thought it was in the report. 7th of September, the minister wrote to us.
The minister wrote to us. When did we contact the CCI?
I probably would have been the following week. I'd have to check what days, but I would have been within a couple of days of that to actually get their advice.
Right. Are we able to, the next time we meet with the CCI, are we able to ask them to give feedback from them how their shops, how do you say, applauded or agreed with the times and it worked in well, or whether there was a negative response, just in going forward for next year, rather than wait now and find out if they just want to do something.
Sorry, Councillor Donald. The question is, you're seeking, are we able to seek feedback from the KPCCI based on their...
It's a simpler version.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr CEO?
And
yep. Thank you. Mr CEO confirms that is fine.
Thank you. And I did go to put forward an alternative motion and I notice there's times down from 8 till 9 and 7 till 9 during those 3 periods. Do I need to put forward my alternative motion at the end of this conversation?
After we've finished with questions, then we'll move on to the officer's recommendation from there. Thank you. Councillor Bodigal.
Could I just put the question through to the CEO? In terms of the community consultation with the KBCCI, Mr. CEO, do you know how we actually contacted the KBCCI? Was it by email? Was it by phone? How did we actually approach them? And just in line with what Councillor O'Donnell is saying with the feedback. And do we give them enough time to come back to us and to give us that feedback?
Thank you, Councillor Bodical. Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, my understanding it was probably an email would have gone through with a copy of the letter. They actually took the time to put out a survey to members, so they've obviously had sufficient time to put the survey out and provide responses to us. So that was action. I will have to confirm though that it was actually an email to them.
Just following on from that, sorry. Do you know how many people did provide feedback? Did you have statistics of who provided feedback? How many retailers got back to the KBCCI about that?
Through the chair, I'm not sure how many. I don't believe there was any, but I'd have to confirm that.
Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Any final questions? Nil. With that, we'll move on to the officer's recommendation and a call for a mover. of the officer's recommendation. Councillor O'Donnell.
Just point of clarification. When can I put my alternative motion forward? Now?
Councillor O'Donnell.
I'd like to put an alternative motion to the council, please.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Do we have a seconder for the alternative? Apologies, I thought that was on the board. Councillor O'Donnell, can you read out what your alternative motion is, please?
Am- is it up there? Yep, I'll just get the email up. Right, my alternative motion is that council, 1, endorse the following extended training hours for the period 6th of December 2025 to the 4th of... period... that 4th, that's...
Councillor O'Donnell, I believe it is the one on the screen, if you wanted to check.
Yes, all right, I'll go by that one, thank you. The council endorsed the following extended training hours for the period of 6th of December 2025, thank you, to 14th of December 2025 as follows. A, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. B, Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. C, Sundays, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. 2, endorse the following extended training hours for the period 15th of December 2025 to the 24th of December 2025 as follows. A, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. B, Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. C, Sundays and public holidays, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. 3, endorse the following trading hours for public holidays for 2026 as follows. A, public holidays, with the exception of Christmas Day and Anzac Day, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. 4, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to lodge an application with the Department of Local Government, Industry Regulation and Safety for alternative trading arrangements over the December 2025 period and the 25-26 public holidays.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Question, Councillor Turner.
So I have a question. So Councillor O'Donnell's motion is to actually reduce the trading hours that we currently have, because at the moment it's 7 till 7 every day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday. Thursday it's 7 till 9. Saturday it's actually currently 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So can I just ask the councillor if we could perhaps amend it that it is basically 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on a Saturday. So basically what we're asking for is what we currently already have, so that there's no changes. Because I think that's what his intent was, but I don't think I think it's been maybe a typo or something. I don't think Saturday was supposed to be 8 a.m. I think it was supposed to be 7 a.m. like it normally is. Is that correct? That you wanted it to be what we already have?
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you. Yeah, the intention is weekdays only to change, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. I have to apologise. I've had issues with my iPad and things, and so, yeah.
Sorry, Councillor O'Donnell. So are you looking to amend your alternative?
8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Yeah, they open it. Yes. Yes, I see that too. Yeah, we've gone from existing trading hours of 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on a Saturday, and we're getting them to open an hour later. Yes, that should be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So just to confirm, Councillor O'Donnell, can you please state which lines this would apply to?
Right. Yep, so that's B. 1B should be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And 2B, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I do have a question that possibly has been left. Are we doing the 29th to the, I think it was the 29th to the 31st, originally was one of the options. I'm just going back to, weekdays, December the 29th to the 31st of December has been left off as well. That's from option 1 on the original.
Sorry, Councillor O'Donnell, you wanted to add a 0.5?
No. Well, it looks like it's been 1 and 2's broken up into 2 lots, so there would need to be one more for the 31st, 29th to the 31st. Or can we just add the date in?
Councillor O'Donnell, would you consider amending point 2's date to go to the 31st as opposed to the 24th, which should fix what you're looking for?
Yeah, that goes to there, but we're still missing 29th to 31st, so probably need to add in one more option.
Yeah, Acting Chair?
Yeah, I agree with that, but originally they wanted them broken up. Is that okay?
It's your motion. You happy with that?
Okay.
Just
Acting
a
Chair,
question,
just a
Councillor
bit
Johnson.
of clarification, if I can.
Sorry, Councillor Johnson. The item,
Point of clarification is...
as an alternative motion, while there are some proposed amendments being put through, it still stands an alternative motion that will still have to be voted on as has been raised. The only way for that to stop at this point would be no one second it or it's defeated. Thank you. Councillor Donnell, is that the wording of your intent? Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, you just need one more change to it, Councillor O'Donnell. I just picked up one that got missed in that. It should be Christmas Day, Good Friday and Anzac Day. Good Fridays also needs to be picked up in there.
Thank you.
And Councillor Donnell, you happy with that?
Thank you.
Thank you. So there is an alternative motion. Councillor Donnell has moved. Can I have a seconder for this alternative? Councillor Turner, a question.
So if this doesn't get up, can we have a foreshadowed motion? Or can I raise that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Question? Question, Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you. Just through to Councillor Johnson. Councillor O'Donnell. Is 1 and 2 exactly the same now? No. So can we not just go from the 6th of December to the 31st of December on one point?
Councillor Donnell.
Thank you. That was my original one, just have it from the 4th through to the 31st for weekdays. Yes. But since Councillor Turner's also that Saturday, I was trying to get it uniformity for the whole month. 7 till 9, Monday to Friday, and 7 till 6 on the Saturdays.
Thank you, Councillor Donnell. Mr. CEO, I do tend to agree with Councillor Johnson. He's getting quite messy. What would be your recommendation in this point in time?
Thank you, through the Chair. It's clear the intent with what's up there at the moment. It's split into the two components over those 2 date periods because that's the way the Minister had proposed it to us. So we're going back responding directly to what the Minister had asked for in terms of those 2 dates. That extra period adding on there just makes it clear that that's the proposal to go beyond Christmas. Normally it would only go up through until Christmas Eve for your trading hours and then potentially the public holidays around that in terms of trade on Boxing Day and that sort of stuff. So normally you don't go through to the end of the month, but Council can ask for a variation. It's a short-term variation for the month of December only.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillors, I don't believe we have a seconder for this motion yet. Do we have a seconder for this alternative motion? No.
I'll second it for the purpose of debate on it.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor O'Donnell, would you like to speak to your alternative motion?
Thank you. Yes, the reason why I did this is because the existing ones were 7 a.m. starts, and I noticed the December periods came through as an 8 a.m. start, and I just thought, no, for uniformity and everything, it should be 7 a.m. because at the moment we've got Coles and Woolies all opening and Bunnings opening at 7. With this 8 to, I'm assuming that will mean that none of them can open till 8 a.m. if this goes through as is. So I was just trying to get it so that we stick to the 7 a.m. starts, and having the 9 p.m. for the evenings, Monday to Friday, was to give all the tourists, give the workers an option to do their Christmas shopping that they don't normally get to do. I do know there could be some problems going forward, but with no comment from the Chamber of CCI, I just saw a variation of the 1 hour, Monday to Fridays, and the Saturday 1 hour, I think, it just makes uniformity, and people will know. 7 till 9. They don't have to keep asking, when are the shops open? When are they shutting? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Donald. Just a point of clarification, Mr. CEO, the Chamber of Commerce, the Kalgoorlie-Boulder Chamber of Commerce Industry, it wasn't they did not respond, it was there was no negative response. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, Through the Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Turner, would you like to speak as the seconder?
Okay, so I'll briefly speak as the seconder, indicating that I've opened it for the purpose of debate, but I will be putting forward a foreshadowed motion if this doesn't come up. And basically my foreshadowed motion will be to keep with our existing trading hours that we have, because we already have 7 till we already have those hours in place, so I don't see a need for an extension, especially of weeknights till 9 o'clock every night. I see that's pointless. The only change that I will suggest in my foreshadowed motion is for the month of December, that Sunday trading is in line with Saturday trading, and that would be the only change I'd make. But I would just keep, I think, our existing trading hours. We already have more flexibility than the metropolitan area on our trading hours of especially when we can open on weekdays and weeknights. So I don't see the minister's done obviously a blanket thing for all regional areas, because a lot of regional areas don't have this, but we could probably just have our existing trading hours, and I'm quite happy with the foreshadowed motion to perhaps not even have a change on Sunday. But I know it's challenging for Bunnings, but I've looked at the dates for Christmas. Christmas is midweek, it's on a Thursday, so I think there's plenty of, if it fell maybe on a weekend, it might be a bit different, but it's on a Thursday, it's midweek, it's giving people ample time. We already open at 7 in the morning, so if we have our existing trading hours, I don't think it's a problem, and I would suggest that is why retailers probably didn't respond, because they've looked and said we've got pretty generous trading hours at the moment already.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Any councillors wish to speak in favour of this motion, alternative motion? Anyone like to speak against this alternative motion? Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, just against a bit of feedback coming back from retailers. The status quo of 7 a.m, 7 p.m. There was a fair bit of antisocial behaviour happening in that space after that, when we're looking at the 9 o'clock, and a decision was made that the 7 p.m. was a better way to go. So antisocial behaviour was a big one, I think, that put this where we are currently today. So in regards to Councillor Turner's suggestion, that brings that back in the line, and we only have one night, and that was Thursday, as it is as a late night training. So maybe keep that in mind, because that, I think, came back from the chamber when they did make a comment. And I'd like to just re-emphasise again that the information given to the chamber was incorrect, and that's again probably why there was no feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Anyone, any councillors like to speak for the motion? Any councillors like to speak against the motion? As there has been dissent from the floor on the alternative, we will put this to a vote. All those councillors in favour of this motion, please raise your hand. All those councillors oppose this motion, please raise your hand. The alternative motion is lost, 1 vote to 5. There was an indication from Councillor Turner of a foreshadowed motion in the event of this motion not being, the alternative motion not being successful. Councillor Turner, would you like to restate your alternative?
So my foreshadowed motion would be that the existing trading hours that we already have in place that were approved in, I think it was 2021, with 7am starts to 7pm finishes for 4 days of the week, 7am to 9pm on a Thursday, 7am to 6pm on a Saturday, and possibly I'm open. I would have liked to have some discussions with other councillors, open to maybe an extension for a Sunday, some time changes for Sunday, given that stores have to close at 3, maybe the same hours as a Saturday, for December, only for December. But happy if there's a councillor that wants to have an amendment, if they would like to me to amend the foreshadowed motion.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. All councillors across the foreshadowed motion being proposed by Councillor Turner. Councillor Johnson.
Just clarity, if I may. So Sunday as it sits will still be 8am to 3pm?
No, Councillor Johnson. I believe Councillor Turner is proposing Sundays for the month of December, from the 6th of December to the 31st of December, would change from 7am to 6pm on a Sunday, in line with all the other days.
Okay, just during those dates, the 6th to the 14th, and the 15th to the 24th will be much the same. And the, sorry? Oh, the 15th to the 24th, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. With that, sorry, Mr. CEO.
Yeah, sorry, through the chair. The other issue that we've been asked around will be public holidays. So public holidays will still remain at 8 till 3. Is that your proposal for next year? Thank you.
As all councillors are comfortable with what is being proposed, I will call for a seconder for this motion. Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Turner, would you like to speak to your motion?
So the reason I've put up a foreshadowed motion is I just think there is so much confusion about our trading hours in Kalgoorlie-Boulder. We do not need to add to it. The minister's submission was for overarching regional trading hours. That was my understanding. We have many different trading hours throughout our regional community. Some have much more extended hours than us. Some have a lot less. Changing from 8am to 9pm is confusing. So basically we're adding an extra hour's trade for the day, but we're actually an extra 2 hours, but we're taking 1 away. So we've got extended trading only by 1 hour, but it's going to create a lot of confusion for people turning up at the shops at 8am, or at 7am, and they're still closed. It's going to muck around rosters, and whilst some employers might not care about mucking around employees' rosters, I think it's very unfair on our the people that live and work in our city. So, and it's just very confusing for our consumers. So I think that this makes a much more standard. And my only suggestion of adding in for the Sunday was that I appreciate that during the month of December, people are perhaps a little busier, and they might just need those few extra hours to go to some of the stores that, not necessarily grocery stores either. It might be some other stores that are currently restricted till 3pm. So I think just for that month, I don't believe we need it for any other time. And I'm with Councillor Johnson. I don't think that we need till 9pm every night, and I don't think it's well patronised either. So, and there's Christmas Day is a Thursday. Stores being open till 6 o'clock is, I would think, adequate time to do your shopping, and there will be alternatives after 6pm within our city that we have several businesses that offer an alternative for people that need their last minute items.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor O'Donnell, as the second, would you like to speak on this motion?
Thank you. Yes, along the same lines, I want uniformity, and the way Councillor Turner's clarified and put a motion forward, there is much more better clarity and uniformity, and it's especially for a lot of ladies know the times, but blokes do not know the times and continually ask when they open. But having it 7 till 7, as per normal, I think is much better for 4 of those days a week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Viskovich, question?
Yes, please. Can we please have the alternate motion on the screen prior to going to vote, if that's possible?
Yes, I believe it's being worked on. Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Is there anyone who'd like to speak for this motion? speak against? We will pause briefly to allow councillors to reconsider before I put it out for another call. Councillor Donald, question.
I don't mean to be pedantic, but we've got it for the month of December, when in fact the minister's talking about from the 6th. Can we do it earlier? Righto, so the first and second doesn't, yeah. I didn't know if you have to have the dates, that's all.
Mr. CEO, can you confirm that the month of December is wording that is compliant?
Through the chair, you could change it to be more specific. Endorse the existing trading hours as follows, commencing from the 6th of December.
The Councillor Turner, you're proposing from the 1st of December? Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor Donald, does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Just give councillors one final moment to review, and then I'll put a call out for any last statements. Okay, with that, would any councillors like to speak for the motion? Any councillors against? For? Before the mover has a right to reply, I will be speaking against this foreshadowed motion. While I completely understand what is being proposed, I still stand by my original position when this item was discussed earlier in the year, that I feel council should not be dictating to shop owners when they should be operating, and I'd rather see a deregulated trading hour set up. So I won't be voting in support of this one. With that, I will put it to a vote. All those in favour? Oh, sorry. My apologies, Councillor Turner.
It's okay.
Councillor Turner,
you did the job.
right to reply.
So, whilst appreciating what the acting chair has stated, being opposed to us having to decide trading hours doesn't mean we don't have to decide trading hours. Unfortunately, the way state government legislation is that local governments do have to decide trading hours. So because someone may be philosophically opposed to what the minister's got in place doesn't mean it delegates our responsibility to unfortunately make a decision. So I also have probably a strong view on trading hours. However, we do have to make a decision, and we have to make a decision of what I think is in the best interests of our community as a whole, which encompasses big retailers, it encompasses small retailers, makes large consumers, small consumers. It's for shift workers, it's for everybody. So unfortunately, we have to make a decision here. And if we don't make a decision and we vote against it, our trading hours for the month will be 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. for part of it, which is going to cause a lot of confusion for our consumers, and it'll be a lot of angry people. So I just don't think we need that, which is why I've got the motion to try and be as streamlined as our current hours with a little bit of flexibility on Sundays.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. With that, we will put this item to a vote. All those in favour, would you please raise your hand? The item is passed 6-0. With that, can we please bring the Deputy Mayor, if she's still awake, back into the room? And I will vacate the chair.
Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to item 961. I am still awake, for those who were wondering. 961, the budget amendment for the cut line. I will put it to councillors and ask, are there any questions for the Manager of Engineering prior to Councillor Winner? So we'll ask the Director of Engineering to step up to answer questions this evening. And we'll start with Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just through the Deputy Mayor to the Director. Director, I was approached today by a few residents with some questions in regards to this, and I felt this might be the easiest way to clarify it for everyone. The proposed budget amendment is in and out. The funding's coming through and the funding's being directly applied to it. It's not a direct expense onto the city itself. Is this correct?
That is correct. So the funding is coming from Main Roads WA and DFS. So there is no city funds within this, and that's why it's being considered within the period now.
Councillor Johnson.
Yes, thank you. And along the same lines, would just confirm that there will be no additional costs to the city at all. If this isn't being done by city equipment and city staff, it needs to be, for a better word, contracted or subbed out. If that then starts to blow out, what's our get out of jail clause, if you like? Are we bound to that? Or do we only go as far as we go? And that's something that we've applied to a lot of our funding that has been coming in. It goes to a cut-off point. So is that the way it will be? It will be cut off, or we'll go back to those other groups if we can't do it ourselves, which I don't think we can, but we have contractors that can do it, which may charge more.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. To the Director.
Councillor Johnson, through the Deputy Mayor, the funding is for the city assets, and it's being done on city roads by city contractors, and the intent is it's being costed so there will be no cost to the city to complete all the works required for the disaster recovery funding and the main roads funding.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Johnson.
So just need to clarify, we have the assets available. We've got the graders, we've got the trucks, we've got the loaders, we've got the staff, we've got the caravans to put them into, and the cut road to Junjunjara is now a city asset, or I thought that was an asset of the Shire of Menzies.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
I think you misunderstood. So the city asset is the first 93 kilometres of the cut road, which this funding is for. So the asset is actually the road, not the machinery. Council machinery is not being used on this. We're using contractors that have been contracted to council to do these works on the city assets, which is the road.
Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you. Yeah, will this be like a grading of the road? I've been out there a couple of times to Junjun, or are we going to be sealing it that 99 kilometres, or is it just a grade?
It's a little bit more than grading. So there is a number of creek crossings and areas that have been degraded with the flooding. So there'll be reinstatement as well as grading through those areas.
Thank you, councillors. Any further questions? Councillor Turner.
Just through the Deputy Mayor to the Director mentioned that the funding was not just through main roads, it was also through DFES. Just a question, that money was coming through DFES because of the flooding, is that correct? Because of the damage, the substantial damage that was caused, and is that also why the work hasn't been able to be completed earlier, because we had to wait for the road, I'm going to say in basic terms, not being so muddy?
So that is correct. So the disaster recovery funding is through DFES. There is a lot of work to do to obtain that funding and satisfy DFES with the costings to make sure everything's right before they release that funding, which has only just happened, hence it's just come to council now, and we intend to get those works done before the flooding season again early next year.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, any further questions? I just have one. Oh, Councillor Bodica.
I was just going to ask through the Deputy Mayor. It states on page 27 that, that there have been significant flooding events as early as 2024, which left sections of the Cutline Road submerged and impassable. Has that actually happened to that extent previously in the past, and is that something that we're expecting again to happen even after these works are going to be done? Does it happen regularly in that area?
To my understanding, yes, it has happened previously. Although we had drought for 3 years previous to that, so there was nothing in that time. Could it happen again? Yeah, quite possibly. But the intent is to reinstate the road, and hopefully these events won't cause the significant damage that this past event of last year caused.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I was just wanting to check. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. As I said, I have one, Director, and that is regarding the budget amendment. It's been clearly stated around the table that these funds aren't going to take away from any of our current road, city road program that we currently have under contract as well. Is that correct?
That is completely correct. So this is completely in addition to any other funding that council have passed at the budget.
Thank you, Director. Thank you. And councillors, if there's no further questions, I will read the caretaker period policy statement. In accordance with the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder's electoral caretaker period policy, the CEO seeks a council resolution to enable council's consideration of the matter due to the following exceptional circumstances: A, the urgency of the issue; B, the possibility of legal or financial repercussions if it is deferred; and C, the best interests of the city. The CEO does not consider this is a major policy decision, but considers there are exceptional circumstances for council to consider this report during caretaker period due to the timing of the required works to avoid future flooding events. It is requested that this item be considered during caretaker period. The budget amendment does not utilise council funds, but funds from Main Roads WA and DFES through grants. Could I please have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Turner, and a seconder, Councillor Viskovich. And speakers against, speakers for, and I'll call for all those in favour to raise their hands. 7-0. Could I now call for the officer's recommendation that council endorse the budget amendments as recommended in table 2 of this report? Could I please call for a mover? Councillor Turner, and a seconder for that motion. Councillor Bodica, thank you. And any speakers for? Move it to speak, sorry.
Okay, so I'm more than happy to move this motion. I feel that this item alone was justification for having a special meeting tonight. This road is something that it actually comes up every year about the condition of it. And floods aside, it is something that Councillor O'Donnell mentioned earlier, that we have had a lot of commentary, a lot of correspondence from users of the road. So to get these works moved in a speedy process would be great. With the flooding that happened, the substantial damage that caused it has not only made it difficult for people in those communities coming in and out. We've had several rescues of people that have used the road when they shouldn't have. This puts a strain on our emergency services personnel and resources in our community, that whilst it's very important that we go and rescue the people, if the roads is looked at and worked on, we might not have some of those situations that have arisen, and they've arisen since the flooding as well, well after the flooding subsided, because the road is in such poor condition. I am very thankful that with the disaster recovery plan, we've actually been able to secure funding, because that, as the director said, that is not an easy process to be able to get that funding. So to have the additional funding through DFES, it is very important, and it is very important that we utilise it as soon as possible so that we can avoid the flood season, which just the rain season that comes in those areas can cause damage to it. So we need the road to be in better condition, because any further deterioration on it could be catastrophic. It could be actually a loss of life that occurs.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. And the seconder, would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Boddicker?
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with Councillor Turner on her commentary about the road. It's really important that we maintain that road and that we keep it, in good condition. The last thing that we want to have is to have anybody being stranded out there or having an accident because of the poor quality of the road. So I think that it's a really good, suggestion to go ahead with this, and I fully support it 100%.
Thank you, Councillor Boddicker. Are there any speakers for the motion? Speakers against? If there's no dissent, I'll call for all those in favour to raise their hand. Carried 7-0. We'll move on to 9.7.1, the New Year's Eve event, and I'll call for councillors. Does anyone have any questions to the officer this evening regarding the New Year's Eve event? As the Manager of Community and Development is not here, I believe the CEO is able to ask to the Director, if the Director would like to come up to the lectern. Good evening. Councillor Viskovich, you had a question.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just through to the Director, I just wanted to know if there is a set list of categories or criteria that any individual or any groups that do apply need to be able to, I suppose, complete to be able to say yes or no whether they are a suitable candidate.
Through the Deputy Mayor, yes, there are work criteria developed as part of the expression of interest application form. I'm not sure exactly what they are to be able to tell you tonight, but it did ask as part of a normal EOI process for them to detail how they would deliver the event and what their arrangements were for critical arrangements. Yeah.
Yes, Councillor.
Thank you. Just to follow up. So have we had any expressions of interest that have met that criteria so far?
They don't start to be assessed until it does close. So close today. I am aware we have received expression of interest, but they won't be assessed until they're all received.
Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Councillor Boddicker.
Thank you. Just looking through the report, it's saying that expressions of interest will undergo eligibility checks against compliance requirements and that they have a minimum insurance. Is that, would they definitely be having to have public liability and indemnity insurance, or what do you mean by the minimum insurance?
Through the Deputy Mayor, yes, all event applicants or anyone who runs an event, private or when we run our own, do have to have a minimum requirement for public liability insurance.
Okay,
Yes.
and is that to a certain amount or?
It is. I
Yeah.
don't have it off the top of my head, but it's our standard city endorsed public
Yep.
liability requirements.
It just concerned me when it said a minimum insurance because it didn't actually say anything about public indemnity liability.
Yeah, that's what we have already detailed under council's guidelines, is what those minimums are, and they will be applied.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Councillor Turner.
Yes, just to the director through the deputy mayor. So, reviewing this motion that's come up, just in the absence of us not having been able to have an agenda briefing on this item and not having, so normally because we're being in caretaker mode and all our meetings were cancelled, we would have had some discussion on this and perhaps been able to look at it in a little bit more detail beforehand. I just have some questions in the fact that Councillor Viskovich raised and then Councillor Bodica, insurance aside, that's very important. If a applicant doesn't fulfil all of the criteria, but if this item came back to council rather than going to the CEO to make a delegated decision, if it came back to council, would we, this may be a question for the CEO, would we be able to still award it to an applicant if they didn't, if there was, say, one item that they didn't tick off, whereas if an officer makes the decision, they would have to follow policy. And even if there was a suitable applicant that we believed could successfully deliver it, but there was one small thing that they didn't meet, the officer approving it with delegated authority, would they not be able to, would they have the discretion to still award it?
Through the Deputy Mayor. There's no specific policy that would guide this entire process, so it would be essentially a risk management approach. It would look at the any individual criteria as to whether it is a technical, relevant to any technical policy, but a lot of them are also based upon a risk assessment of how critical that would be, and we could follow up with an applicant to seek further information.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Turner? Councillors, were there any further questions? Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, a question and a comment. We've weakened and changed things throughout the year for a lot, and that and it's getting beyond. Has the city sent out to all our non-for-profits and our various groups and minimum requirements for events? And is there a minimum requirement for events?
I'll ask the Director to answer that one. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you. Through the Deputy Mayor. There are requirements for our events, there are relevant legislation through the Health Act for those health criteria required. We can apply additional conditions depending on if it is on a city property, but essentially for a private event holder on a private premises, that's usually all handled through the relevant event rules under the relevant acts. We do also, yes, we do promote guidelines and do support event proponents in understanding and interpreting those.
Thank you. One area I don't think we should weaken on is the public liability, indemnity, anything like that. You hear of tragic events, and heaven forbid anything happens for us, but you do hear of various things. It was like one in Tasmania, wind. Next minute the castle's gone and people have passed away. We can't just let someone have an event, say, oh, it should be right. Yeah, because we've got to have an event. If we can't have an event, we can't have an event. We can then start planning early in the year, next year, for New Year's Eve, should we not, rather than wait until the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Was there a question in that to the Director?
Yes, to the Director. Do you think that'd be a good idea if we went out early with a New Year's Eve for next year?
Through the Deputy Mayor. Yeah, the insurance career is an example in my earlier one around one of the ones we wouldn't be flexible on. That would be a high risk category, so there wouldn't be any leniency in waiving any of the minimum insurance requirements. In regards to earlier planning, it is normally that we look to it 3 or 4 months. The risk in doing too early for an expression of interest from a community group is perhaps a lack of their alignment and readiness for knowing, getting prepared to run a New Year's Eve event. So we don't try and promote and call expression of interest too early, because there's a little bit of a disconnect that we might not get the level of expression of interest that we want when there's the momentum created closer to the date.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Boddicker, did you also have a question?
Thank you. I'm just picking up on what Councillor O'Donnell mentioned. I know that you say in the report that they've got to be obtain permits, licences and approvals. Is everybody that's working there, are they asked to have like working with children cards or anything like that, because they're going to be around children? Is that part of the process as well? So the working with children card.
Thank you, Councillor Boddicker.
Yeah.
Director.
Through the Deputy Mayor, that working with children's check requirements are dependent on the event, so it is an assessment we would do as well. For a broad community event, it's usually, again, dependent on the nature of individual roles. So it's a similar assessment we do for any applicant, including our own internal events and our requirements for our own staff to have them, and that would be assessed under part of the event approval process. So usually with regards to people that may be more involved in people management, so security guards by default are required to have working with children's checks, anyone that's running a creche or any kind of thing that's particularly sensitive, but we wouldn't necessarily require it for support staff or stage managers or people that aren't interacting with the public.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, councillors. If there's Councillor Winner, there is one more question.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, just right on the buzzer. Just through the Deputy Mayor to the Director, is the $65,000 in funding inclusive of possible requested in-kind support, or could additional in-kind support have been asked for on top of the $65,000?
Through the Deputy Mayor, fairly new, but I would understand that in-kind would still be an internal cost, so would be a cost that the city would need to bring out of that $65,000 to pay for any in-kind contributions.
Thank you. And my second question, if I may, Deputy Mayor, is that what is the expected notification time that the city is anticipating notifying a successful applicant?
Through the Deputy Mayor, I can only say as soon as possible. So as soon as they close, the team, that's why we brought it up to a special council meeting. The team is keen to do an assessment as quick as possible, but at the same time it needs to be rigorous and ensure those kind of minimum conditions are met.
Councillor Turner.
I've just got one final question through the Deputy Mayor. I know applications have now closed and they won't be assessed to tomorrow, but I can't recall what Councillor O'Donnell said. Have we had applicants?
Yeah, it was answered earlier. I'm not aware of how many. I do know that applications have been received. Don't know even plural, sorry. I know that at least one's been received.
Thank you. And one more from Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you. Once we've got the applications, can councillors make a decision via email? No, not allowed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, I'll now move to read out the policy statement. In accordance with the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder's electoral caretaker period policy, the CEO seeks a council resolution to enable council's consideration of the matter due to the following exceptional circumstances. A, the urgency of the issue. B, the possibility of legal or financial repercussions if it is deferred. And C, the best interest of the city. The CEO does not consider this is a major policy decision, but considers there are exceptional circumstances for council to consider this report during caretaker period. As set out in the body of the report, the determination of the event provider is urgent to enable the provider sufficient time and access to the budget allocation in order to effectively organise the event. Further, if the decision regarding the provider is delayed, there is a risk to both the success of the event, which in turn is considered contrary to the city's best interests and may result in repercussions for the city. Could I ask for a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Viskovich, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Boddicker. I'll put this forward. Would the mover like to speak to the motion? And the seconder like to speak? Okay. We will put it to the vote and ask all those in favour to raise their hand. 7-0. I'll now ask for a mover for the officer's recommendation for the item 9.71, the New Year's Eve event. Do we have a mover of the motion? Councillor Johnson, and seconded by Councillor Boddicker. Councillor Johnson, would you like to speak to the motion? Councillor Boddicker? Any speakers for the motion, councillors? Speakers against? Councillor Turner.
So I'm going to speak against the motion, and it's not that I don't want a New Year's Eve event to go ahead. I very much do want a New Year's Eve event to go ahead, and I wish this had come to council a little bit earlier, but I would like councillors to perhaps be involved in the decision making, purely because if there is a variation we need to make or look at that an officer may not be able to make, council can do that through resolution. If it's required, I'm quite happy to come back for another special meeting for it, to be quite honest. It's not a big deal to come back. I would say that this is an important item for our community. It's something that our community's been calling for a long time, that there's a lot of people that stay in our community over the New Year period to keep our city running. More and more people are not going away over the New Year period because of the cost of living, and they're quite often working or they might be staying here. And I would very much like our councillors to be involved in the decision making. I understand we don't want to defer it and probably to our next OCM, but if we have to come back for a special meeting for it, I'm quite happy. It's not that I don't have faith in the CEO to make a good decision. My concern is that there may be restrictions on him being able to make that decision that councillors don't have, because we can have that by way of resolution.
Councillor Turner has a question to the CEO.
Councillor Winner?
Sorry, Councillor
okay.
Winner. Sorry.
Confused me, that's okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Just to Councillor Turner, just to check through the chair, is that a foreshadowed motion that's being proposed?
Just probably I've got a question back to the CEO. Would we need a foreshadowed motion to come back for a special meeting?
With my concern that if the item is lost, then it is dead on the table.
Through the chair, I understand the concerns in relation to it. In the event that I'm unable to make a decision, I would bring it back to council and request another meeting. If there's the ability to actually award it to an individual community group who's got the capacity to deliver and can meet all the criteria, then there shouldn't be an issue with it. We will advise council before we make a final determination on it, though. So, if some other issues come up or there's something that we're unaware of, you can flag that before we make a public announcement anyway.
A question, Councillor O'Donnell, or speaking for or against?
Against, but a point of clarification on that one.
Question to the CEO.
Where it says on the off the recommendation 1, authorise the CEO to review the expression of intent, determine which of the applicant committee. Would the CEO be able to, or is this an option? CEO just email and say, I'm going to do it at between 10 and 11. Any councillors wish to come down and assist. Is that can that be done, or no, that's out of the ordinary?
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
Thank you. Through the chair, it's probably out of the ordinary in relation to it. You just need to be mindful that the criteria around it and the process for awarding any of these grants is canvassing of any elected members can disqualify the community group, so you need to be careful any engagement with the community groups who potentially are submitting. So we've got to keep that process transparent in there. I think the first point will be reviewing the submissions that come in and make a determination. If there's only one, it's pretty easy if they comply. If there's multiples, then it's, we'll need to make that assessment once we've had a look at those applications. But I do note the comments and the concerns from elected members, and if necessary, we can call a special meeting to resolve it.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Speakers for the motion, Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Initially, I was, much like Councillor Turner, going to speak against the item, but following the information provided to the CEO about the ability to resolve potential issues that may pop up, I'm a lot more comfortable where the item now stands. Our community's asked for this for some time now. I think it's critical that we as a council continue to listen to our community and look at ways to empower events and activities that our community want to see. Our community wants fireworks. They want to see a great spectacle, and they want to see New Year's go off with excuse the pun, with a bang. So I think it's really, really important councillors do take this into consideration. We need to provide our community groups with ample time to actually organise this. This will be very, very extensive. I commend all the applicants which have put their hand up to run this event, because I know how hard they can be myself. So as a council, I do hope fellow councillors will be supportive of this motion tonight, and trust in the CEO to bring any concerns back to council and address those appropriately at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Bodica.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Winner. I have full confidence that the CEO will be able to sort of work to the best of his ability to have this come about. The community is, they've been looking forward to having, experience like this for New Year, and something that we, as councillors and as a city should be providing for our residents and for our ratepayers. And I think it would be a real shame to see this held over. I can't see any reason for us to hand it over and hold it over. I think it should be approved tonight, and I ask other councillors to do the same. It's a good report. It's we have to have confidence in our staff, and by voting on this, I think that we're going to be giving the community what they want as well.
Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Speaker against? Speaker for? The mover has a right to reply. Councillor
Yes,
Johnson.
thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's great to see that an event like this is going to come from this table back into the community, and we have had the community wanting something like this for quite a number of years. And it's good to see that, and hopefully it's not plagued with bad weather as most of them were over that period of time where there were no such events like this. The community groups out there, I have utmost confidence in the CEO and their selection of whoever that may be. And when that comes back, that'll be great. And the guidelines, I'm going to say must be adequate, because it's a fair slice of 50,000+. The community groups understand their obligations, especially in regards to the criteria that they've been given. I wish that whoever takes this on board, it's a great success, and we get lots and lots of Kalgoorlie-Boulder and visitors to wherever this may be held. And moving forward, every year from here on in would be a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor, all those in favour, please raise your hand. Pass 7-0. We'll go to item 10 now, confidential items. There are nil. Thank you, councillors. And I'll note the time for closing the meeting is 8:34. Thank you.